Alright guys, so we are back in my garage for another video, and today we are going to be talking about my brand new radar detector, the Uniden R4. I was previously an Escort guy. I ran a Passport radar detector for a very long time. Then I switched to the Uniden R3 and I loved it. And then this just takes all of the R3 features and takes it to the next level. So I just updated to this one. I highly recommend it. And in this video, I'm just going to talk about how it works, what sets it apart, and why I think it's the best value radar detector on the market today. So we'll go ahead and talk about it in this video, and hopefully you guys find it useful. Now, as always, for everybody that's new to the channel, I create these videos to help keep you updated on the latest developments in our community, as well as discuss technical topics so that we have a better understanding of how our engines work. So if you're interested in more videos like that, be sure to subscribe because there will be a lot more coming out in the future. Now, before we jump into this, a couple things I want to get out of the way. First of all, I will have my Amazon link to this product down in the video description. I bought it last year on Black Friday, so I've been using it for the past several months, and that's where I got the best deal, especially if you're a Prime member, you know, quick shipping and things like that. They tend to have a lot of sales on there from time to time. So I highly recommend buying it through Amazon. Again, I'll have my link in the video description if you're interested in buying. Also, I am upgrading from a Uniden R3. I'll talk about that more later, but I always get the same question: are you going to sell it? And no, I always give parts that I swap out on my car to one of my Patreon members. So I do a giveaway after I've swapped out parts because those are the people that are supporting the channel. So if you guys are interested in becoming a patron of the channel and potentially winning something in a future giveaway, feel free to join. I'll have the link to that in the video description as well. And it's a great way to work with the community. We've got a Discord, we've got direct messaging. You can reach out to me with questions about your build, diagnostics, troubleshooting, things like that. So definitely feel free to join. We've got a good thing going over there. All right, so let's talk about the radar detector. Like I said, I've been running this for a little while, so I've already opened this, but I'm gonna kind of go ahead and unbox it again to show you guys what you'll get. So this is the box it comes in, and when you open it up, you can see it comes in a really slick case. It also has some materials like your manual in a couple different languages, so you can go through that if you need the information. My R3 came in a similar case as well, so I think this is just something that Uniden normally does. And then if you open it up, zip it open, and you will see, so you've got some cables, your mount, you've got this cable to plug it into your cigarette lighter. It's got another lower profile suction mount, so a couple different options. Now, personally, I'm running this in my 340i, well, all my BMWs, but I use a permanent mount with 3M tape. That works a little bit better than the suction cup mount, so I'll also have a link to that in the description. I got it from eBay. And then I used my blend mount to plug this into my rear view mirror, so it gets power from my mirror and I don't have cables, you know, dangling across my dashboard. Same thing, I'll have my Amazon link to that in the video description as well. All right, so let's get all this stuff out of the way. Basically, all I do is take this, all the other stuff that comes with it, I just store it elsewhere. And let's go ahead and talk about this radar detector. So this is the new Uniden R4. This is like the R3, so it has a lot of similar features. This is their long range sensing unit, so it can pick up radar from very far away. It is the longest range detector I've ever used, so I'm very happy with the results. It can pick up radar around corners, over hills, just a lot of really good opportunities for this to save you from potentially getting a ticket. Now, this does also come with GPS, so it enables a lot of cool features as well. It can tell you when you're coming up to red light cameras, speed cameras, and it can also, of course, lock out falses. So there is an automatic function now compared to the R3 that did not have that. This will basically track your GPS, and if you're picking up false signals it will automatically lock them out over time. So you'll notice when you drive by Walgreens, CVS, whatever, those are the ones that tend to annoy me the most because they're always right by the street and they always trigger this for, you know, whatever reason from their automatic doors and stuff. So after you've driven by them a couple times, you'll see it show the wording that it's locked it out, and you won't get any noise from that again. So really nice feature. You can also mark locations. So if there's somewhere that you know there's typically a speed trap or just some other point of interest that you want to lock in, you can manually set that on here. And every time you get close to that location, it will warn you as you get closer, and you know to look out for, you know, whatever you have it set for. So really, really cool. And of course, it can show you your GPS speed, which I think is a nice feature. A lot of our cars have a bias on the dash. You know, the cluster speed isn't really accurate. So if it ever picks up radar, it can show you your GPS speed, which will match what a radar will pick up. So even if it's different from what your car is showing, you know what your actual speed is. Now, this is also undetectable against Spectre 1 and Spectre 4, which I don't really have that issue here, but if you're in an area where you're not supposed to have radar detectors, this can avoid detection from some radar detectors, so that's nice. And then let's go ahead and look at the overall look. So it's a nice sleek design. I'm actually going to go ahead and pull out my old R3 so we can compare these two. So you can see from the top, it's very similar. It's got the button that you basically push in to remove it from the mount. It's got the Uniden logo. This is the sensor to pick up stuff from the rear. So they call it like your eagle eye. You've got your power button, your volume up and down, and then your menu. So pretty much the same layout. You know, the buttons on the R4 are a little bit bigger, so it should be a little bit easier to press, but generally the same as what you're used to. Then looking at the front, we've got the mute dim button and the mark button. So this is how you can manually mark locations that you want to track as a point of interest. And then you can mute or dim the radar depending on, you know, if you're getting a signal or not. And then the actual display, I think the new display does look a lot better. If you look at the colors, it matches our BMW interior really well with their orange color. And then just in general, it looks more sleek. It's kind of like a dark mode where it's just got like the orange lines. On the R3, it's like the whole thing is orange. So still matches, still looks good, but I think the R4 looks a lot better. Also, I think the R4 display is just slightly bigger. I might be wrong on that, but looking at it from the car, it definitely seems easier to read. Now, as we look at the side, this is something that I'm not really a fan of. So like I said, I already had my R3 installed with my permanent mount and my mirror tap, and unfortunately, they switched the side that the power cable goes on. So this is not for power. This is for accessories that work with the R4. So you're basically going to need to plug it in on the other side. And if you have kind of a shorter cable that just reaches here to keep things like nice and clean, you could potentially need a longer cable, just kind of depending on how this is situated or installed on your car. Thankfully, it didn't do that for me, but I don't know why they changed the side. And then, of course, it also has the audio jack, which again is not on this side anymore. Then if you flip it to the front, it looks pretty much the same. This does look a little more sleek. I'm sure there's some functionality behind this that probably makes it perform a little better, but just from a look standpoint, nothing really to talk about. And then on this side, so yeah, this is where your power jack is, this is where your audio jack is, and then they did keep the USB on the same side. So if you ever need to update the firmware or anything like that, you can plug this in and make the necessary updates. So other than that, let's talk about some functional differences, and again, why I think the R4 is so great. So first of all, this increases the number of GPS lockouts that you can add from 500 to 1,750. Plus, you can have a total of 2,000 lockouts. So that's split between the manual ones that you set and the automatic ones. I think that is huge. I didn't think 500 was that small, but somehow driving around with this one, I've definitely noticed times where I thought I had something marked or locked out, and then eventually it starts detecting a signal there again. So it seemed like it was overriding some old lockouts with new points of interest, and that was kind of frustrating. This one has been working flawlessly. It's been picking up and automatically locking out those falses really quickly. So I'm a big fan of that. I didn't think I needed it, but now I'm definitely using it. Also, like I said, the auto lockout is huge because on the R3, everything is manual. I'm a little bit hesitant to lock out anything that I can't directly correlate to something in the vicinity. This just makes it so much easier and makes it so much more carefree because it's going to specifically lock out any radar signal that it sees in the exact same location, and only if it sees the exact same signal. So if you get K-band somewhere over and over, it'll lock it out. But if you get KA band, it'll still let that come through. And I think that's really key here. It's able to decipher between different signals so that it's only blocking out the ones that you repeatedly see or always see in the same location. So yeah, not having to make that decision myself just makes this a lot more useful to me. And it also has better false alert detection. So now we're not just worrying about automatic doors on different stores. You also have to worry about people with blind spot monitoring, and all the different cruise control functions on the highway. All of that stuff can give you false signals while you're driving around. So this does a much better job of filtering those out, so you're not constantly getting blared with warnings just because you passed by, a Mazda CX-5 or something like that. So overall, this one is just much quieter. I almost forget that it's there until I really need to know that it's there because it's warning me of a new radar signal that it's picking up. And so it's just much more comfortable, much more user-friendly, and easier to deal with. And I pay more attention to it because I know when it does go off, something new is happening. So big fan of that. Now, also above and beyond, it does detection for GATSO RT3 and 4. So out of the box, this is going to be able to detect those cameras. And I also think that just in general, the basic and expert mode on this makes it more user-friendly. I use the expert mode to set it up, and there are so many different options to go through that you don't necessarily want that to be the only way to access the menu. So, the basic simple mode gives you much less menus, things that you'll probably want to change more frequently without having to go through like 40 different options every time you want to change something. So that also makes this one much more convenient and just easier for the end user. Now, the last thing is you can wire up an optional remote. I don't actually use it, but there's a separate remote where you can, trigger different things from somewhere else inside the car. You can have it mounted on your dash, or next to your shifter or something, somewhere that's easy for you to reach. And then you can install this in a slightly more remote location that is easier for you when you're driving. I keep it right dead up in front of me at the top of my windshield, so accessing it isn't difficult. But if you are somebody that likes to put it out of the way, that is a feature that you can take advantage of as well. So yeah, I think just based on the price right now, they still sell the R3. I almost don't know why this one is less than $100 more, but if you were to go up to like the R7, you're paying double the price. So getting into this one, especially when it's on sale, I got it at almost the same price as the R3, and with so many more features and upgrades that make it easier to use, make it quieter for daily driving, and just gives it the better performance, I think that this one is kind of a no-brainer. So that's my recommendation. Look for an R4. Keep an eye out with my Amazon link in case they have any sales, and jump on it. They tend to go pretty quickly, especially during the holidays, Prime Day, Black Friday, stuff like that. They throw sales on there all the time, and you're able to get it for closer to $300, which is a win-win in my book. So highly recommend getting the Uniden R4. If anybody has any questions about this, let me know. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this video. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope this helps. And if you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below.